We're going to watch Tana Mojo is really upset. And then we're going to watch Trisha Paytas exposes Colleen Ballinger.
It's the number one reason I feel like everyone saw it is like, this is why you shouldn't be friends with a minor.
It's just so crazy to hear what Colleen was saying to Trisha behind the scenes. The whole guilt tripping. Did I lose you? I can't imagine what she's been saying to Jojo then.
Let's see what's going on the toxic gossip train and go ahead and grab our train ticket here.
Because it's the juice. And if you don't have the juice, you don't have it. So if you don't have the juice, you can't capitalize.
Fill the room with the juice. That's a lot of loot. That big fire. Yeah, she kinda.
Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Your girl decided to do a makeup day because if you can tell, my skin is trash now. Like, oh my gosh, don't even get me started. But anyways, I know I typically come with makeup on. I typically can do my makeup pretty fast out here, and I don't really know why. I don't know if it's because I don't feel like the United States pressure of like every single woman has to be like perfect. I don't know what it is, but yeah, so hopefully we can get it done within 20 minutes. Anything that you're wondering what I'm using, just comment down below and I will let you know what it is. Now, before we hop into this Tana Mojo, Trisha Paytas, and Colleen Ballinger tea, juice, drama, toxic train, whatever word you want to use, can we just briefly talk about Nick Snyder real quick? Because you guys, I was just minding my business, okay? And I'm still subscribed to Nick. If you have been here for a while, you know that me and Nick have talked privately when all of the drama was going on back in like 2020. And so I saw him post about Jen and leaving Texas, and I was just like, what is going on over there? So if you guys want a reaction on that, definitely let me know, because the way I was so confused, I was like, what is going on over there? It seems super toxic and super tragic and just drama galore. I don't know. I don't really know all the ins and outs and the details, but if you guys don't know about that tea, just Google Nick Snyder, Jen, Dustin Daily, and you will be able to see what's been going on over there. Anywho, we're going to hop into two videos. We're going to watch Tana Mojo is really upset, and then we're going to watch Trisha Paytas exposes Colleen Ballinger. I don't really know what the update is on that. I'm assuming it has to do with Jojo. And just to state, because I know there were some people that were like, why aren't people coming for Jojo in the comment section of the video that I did on Jojo? And I think it's just because she's still young, and like somebody commented, I did want to show Jojo some compassion, because at the end of the day, yes, we can definitely come for her for some certain things, but I also believe that, yeah, she's been through a lot too, whether she realizes it or not, whether she cares or not, whether she wants to care or not, I really don't know. But either way, let's see what's going on the toxic gossip train and go ahead and grab our train ticket here. I feel like it's never going to end at this point, right?
Tana Mojo is clapping back at haters following backlash her and her podcast co-host Brooke received following their recent podcast episode with Jojo Siwa. Now I want to say that this episode was recorded.
Pause. Jojo was on Tana's. Okay, Jojo making her podcast rounds, I see. Interesting. She looks really happy right here. I don't know Tana's friend's name, but I love her nails. I really like red nails, but I feel that it just looks so much different on a lighter complexion skin opposed to a black person's skin. Kind of like how white people get colored tattoos, and it's like, no matter if you want that as a black person, it's always going to look different. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that.
A couple weeks ago, but because it wasn't posted until now, that's why there's been a ton of drama and backlash that's come from it. Tana was pretty excited to have Jojo on and share it on her story at the beginning
Jojo
of
is
the
gorgeous
month, and said that they were sitting down to do this episode of Cancel together. It's kind of a big deal because Jojo, for the most part, has a pretty cookie cutter image, and Tana and her have very different demographics. But at the time when they recorded, people were just really curious what the conversation was going to be and if Tana would even dare to bring up Colleen. Now I'll just say now that on the podcast they didn't talk about Colleen one bit, and it was a few days after this episode had been recorded. That's when the episode of Howie Mandel's podcast was released, where Jojo did talk about Colleen and defended her and talked about how close they are as friends. And since then, Jojo has been receiving a ton of backlash from the public, and Trisha Paytas has talked about her on several occasions now, really upset about the fact that Jojo tried to say that the internet ran with lies about Colleen. And since Trisha and Tana seemed to get close during the recording of their podcast episodes, I think people just thought that Tana might have scrapped the episode since it had been a little while since they recorded and it wasn't out yet. But this week, it did get released, and the response has been insane, and not in a good way.
Really?
A big problem was that a lot of people thought that this was a new interview that she had recently done, and not something that was pre-recorded before JoJo even got backlash for the Howie interview where she defended Colleen. So it wasn't the best look, and people said, this is why it's called the Canceled Podcast. This is why Trish said she didn't trust having friends. You proved her point very quickly. Tana, no, so much for standing with Trish. Like I said, Tana recently just had Trisha on her podcast, and she went on Trisha's, and the two of them were bonding, having the best time. Tana was praising Trisha the entire time. So people felt bad that she was being so nice to JoJo after JoJo made Trisha feel bad with what she had to say about Colleen. But obviously, like I said, it was before any of that went down, and Tana is claiming that she didn't even know about JoJo defending Colleen until this episode went up and she saw the hate comments. She pinned a comment on her podcast episode with JoJo and said, "We had her on before she went on Howie's podcast and defended Colleen. I did not know about any of this until today. Oops. We'll unpack in the next episode." People were even trying to tell them to delete the episode, but Tana clapped back at those comments, writing to someone, "We're in contract and have to post every week. Can't delete. This has been scheduled to upload since we shot it. We're on tour right now and don't really pay attention to when things are going live. We let the team handle that. We can simply just discuss it on the next episode of Canceled We Shoot." And Brooke tweeted out her stance saying, "Colleen." Brooke had also gone live and talked about the whole situation, clarifying once again that when they recorded the episode, all the drama had not gone down yet.
For the record, when we did the JoJo episode, she had not
her name's Brooke.
defended Colleen.
I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, you know she did that? Did you see it? I didn't see it either, but I'm seeing everyone talk about it. I do not stand anybody who stands Colleen, but lucky for me, I didn't have to say a word during the JoJo episode, so.
Brooke also vocalized her feelings about the episode, feeling like she was kind of ignored by JoJo during the recording of the episode.
No surprise there.
Not one word.
You didn't talk?
Not once.
Why?
No surprise there.
I only speak when spoken to.
Wait, why? Wait.
Like you were like a waste of space. Probably.
And the comments under the podcast surely picked up on this part. If the comments weren't about the fact that they had JoJo on as a guest, they were about feeling bad for Brooke.
Now I want to see it just to see what like the energy was like, you know what I mean? Because honestly, I felt the same way when Trisha was on there, but I could see Trisha would like look at Brooke, or she would, you know, kind of just, because the like, not to be rude, but where Brooke is sitting, it's like in a corner and the guest is looking, or I should say in a position to stare directly at Tana. So it's like you have to kind of like be able to, you know, move your body to involve Brooke, if that makes sense. I don't know, but I actually really wouldn't be surprised, because not to say, because again, I don't know JoJo and I really don't know any of these people personally, but JoJo is, because she's just been famous and in the limelight for so long, I feel like it's just those type of people, it's just hard for them to even like take into consideration of like people who are not on that level or maybe don't have like a huge platform. I have never seen Brooke's TikTok, Instagram. Child, I've barely done seen her face right now for the first time doing reactions like with Tana's podcast being involved. So I don't know who she is. Not to say she's not somebody. I'm sure she does have a large platform. Obviously she's friends with Tana, but you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there's certain famous people out there that they just, it's just kind of like innate in them to just not be assholes, but just not involve people that just aren't involved, you know? Like, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I'm definitely not co-signing for JoJo. I just personally feel like the way the seating is, it makes it kind of hard to even be able to bring her in unless Tana or the guest is able to do so, or if she's like speaking up. And clearly she just said, I don't speak unless I'm spoken to, so
because JoJo hardly acknowledged her presence during the episode. People pointed it out.
I bet people did point it out, child. I bet they did. Because what?
Why was Brooke literally ignored? So rude. She flat out ignored Brooke unless Brooke directly asked her a question. LMFAO, wow. I think why we don't like guests is because they don't acknowledge Brooke enough. Kinda hate that. She doesn't even acknowledge Brooke, like around 46:50 when Brooke has an input.
46:50. All right, we're gonna go check that.
Looked at, and it looked like Brooke were like, oh, okay, I guess not. It was honestly nicer watching y'all with people like Trisha who actually looks at and talks with Brooke too. I just don't like seeing people ignore her, okay?
And did I not just say that? I literally just said that. I remember Trisha having to like look at Brooke. Like she was making the point to do so. And it made me think, oh, it's the way the seating is. It's the way it's arranged, because without it, the guest is directly looking at Tana. Like that's just the setup, you know?
And I went to watch this part, and I just felt so sad for Brooke, especially because in one of the recent episodes, her and Tana were talking about influencers and people who will meet Tana and not acknowledge any of her friends if they're all together.
No surprise.
And how people can just be so different with her, and then they get treated a whole other way. And that's certainly how people were feeling Jojo was being towards Brooke in this episode, that she was really focused on Tana.
We gotta go look. We gotta go look.
Was just getting left behind.
Because what?
The Ritz on wheels.
Just Jojo on the side all over.
I wanted to wrap my bus and they wouldn't let me for security because I was still a kid.
Well, yeah, that's probably
but
valid.
we got to wrap a truck. We wrapped a truck instead.
There was also
I'm
another awkward moment where
screaming.
Brooke tried to say something, and I literally just cringed at watching it. I felt so bad for her.
And you have to wait till the helicopter lands at the bottom and then you have to get yourself out. And I mean, it's changed my life.
Jojo?
It's what?
What did you say? So do you have a death wish? Like, why would you put yourself through that?
We had a
Submarine vibes.
Yeah, there's so
Too
much
soon.
that went. I mean, there is.
But the canceled audience really loves Brooke, so I'm sure it made her feel better to see so many people pick up on this in the comments and defend it, feeling icky that she wasn't really acknowledged in the episode. Some people were also suggesting that maybe when they have a guest, that Tana and Brooke should sit next to each other on the couch so the guest can look at.
You better preach. Did I not just say that? I'm like, the way, and you know what else is, look how big this gap is between Tana and Brooke. Like, it's just giving this energy of like, you're here, but you're also like not really that important. Like if she was in the middle, like just a little bit over, it would make more sense. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I really did think that when I saw the one with Trisha, but I also was just like, okay, maybe that's just like their setup, because I'm not an avid watcher, so I don't know.
At both of them to maybe prevent something like this happening. But even though she was sitting kind of on the side of Jojo during the interview, people still felt like she should have been acknowledged. But on the same live that she was talking about all of this, she later continued to talk about how Jojo shouldn't have defended Colleen the way she did and said that she supports Trisha.
So she got canceled there now?
Not canceled, but she is just embarrassing.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
But she's Jojo. She can do anything.
What'd she do again?
She just defended Colleen, and I don't back.
Uh-oh.
Well, listen, Jojo.
Okay, so just to clarify, you know how I said, well, she's Jojo, she can do anything. I don't know if you guys saw the video when she got her car, her BMW, but I remember that video, and it was giving, I'm Jojo and I can do anything. You know, it was definitely that energy.
She's young, but
She's an idiot.
Yeah, she's
Stan,
young.
Trisha.
But like,
And I will say I found it so interesting when her and Tana were talking about becoming friends.
Not
and
standing
Jojo was
Trisha.
saying that she was a big fan of Tana's at first, which made things a little off in trying to be friends. But later, as she got older, they got to be friends because they had more in common there. But it seemed like Jojo didn't have a problem being a fan of Colleen and also being friends with Colleen at 12. Like, I don't know how Jojo in her mind was thinking, it's weird if I'm friends with Tana because I'm a fan of hers, but not with Colleen.
We didn't, at that time, like, you were way younger and I was like 17, whatever, and I don't think we actually became like real friends until I was probably like 19 or 20. You were a little bit older, and I just started seeing you at events, and I love your whole family, so I'd met your brother like a million times.
I remember seeing you at whore nights.
Oh, yes.
And like, I remember that night, like, I felt like I was able to go up to you and be like, not a friend, but like, I felt like, oh, I'm not just a fan of this girl anymore.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, we're like a homie.
Because we freaked out seeing each other. I was like,
yeah, like we were excited. We were excited to see each other.
So you saw that whole part right there where Jojo's talking. She's not acknowledging that Brooke is there with her body language. Not necessarily, and again, these are things that honestly are taught like in certain psychology classes. Like there's some people that just don't really like know like the ins and outs of it, of having a conversation. I mean, obviously not everybody's going to be thinking that deeply when they're talking, but you know, there's certain like cues that you do. Like if somebody else is there, like, you know, you take like a couple seconds to like look at the other person and then go back to the main person you're speaking to and like stuff like that. JoJo's not doing that at all right here. Like she like fully Brooke is just there.
Yeah.
It's actually really interesting. It makes me miss my psychology classes.
Yeah. You are just like so welcoming. I think that was really cool because even just all
You
of
are
the
so
events
welcoming.
and
I'm
parties
screaming.
you've had, you wanting me there always meant a lot to me because I was like, listen, I'm not this girl's brand. You know what I mean? And then after you came out and stuff and were, you know, finding your adulthood, we found more common ground and stuff because I was like, yes, you're being you. And like, I'm so proud of you and shit like that.
Because with Colleen, she said that she
Look how
was
young
a
she is
huge
there.
fan of hers, and then they became friends. And the age gap between her and Colleen is huge compared to her and Tana.
Massive.
Like, Tana is saying it wasn't until JoJo was older that they had more in common.
I think it's just because of her image. It's just because of Tana's image, especially back then. I think because Colleen has had, and it's even weird to say that she had like a clean image, but you know what I mean? Like an image of it being about kids and making kids happy and laugh and be goofy and silly, and obviously that clearly wasn't even the case, you know, in some aspects. But with Tana, I mean, she got peed on, you know? Like, didn't Shane pee on her, or she peed on Tana? I mean, she peed on Tana. She peed on Shane, and then he spit in her mouth, and she spit in his mouth, and it's just like, you know, Tana's like in a different kind of like era now, so I don't know. I feel like it kind of makes sense, but at the same time,
that they could be friends. But the fact that Colleen could be friends with JoJo at 12, it's just strange.
So on Dance Moms, Tadra Hall had a party and invited the Dance Moms cast, and four of the girls went, and they discluded myself and Nia, who is another girl on the show. Me and Nia were devastated because we were
now that I have made that video, are you guys not appalled at the fact that in that video Colleen doesn't even bring up JoJo, yet JoJo is here saying me and Nia?
But Nia wasn't there, and I remember being like, why isn't Nia here? And Todrick was like, oh, Abby wouldn't let her come.
And in the picture of Dance Moms where Colleen is talking about how she wants them to sit on her lap, whatever, that video, JoJo's not even in that picture. JoJo's not even in that picture, you guys. Like, I feel like that's also another reason why it's just like, girl, it's because you were coming up, you know what I mean? Like, you were being a part of like a situation that wasn't really what the situation was at first, and then Colleen capitalized on it. I mean, basically.
Massive fans, and we loved Colleen and we loved Miranda. And then when the episode came out, Colleen saw how upset me and Nia were, and she reached out to Holly and was like, I would love to like make this up to you guys. And so we ended up going to dinner with Colleen, and it was me and my mom and Nia and Holly. I was 12 when I met her. And she's always been nothing but kind to me, her family nothing but kind to me. The difference with Colleen and I is we were, once I became her friend and she became my friend, and she became somebody that I looked up to. She became somebody that I idolized.
You know, another thing that I think is a little interesting. So normally we look at this aspect as maybe Shane and Trevor, okay, both of them being obviously avid people in the LGBT community. And then we think about it like a older man with a younger fan type situation. And then we think about it in the aspect of Colleen being an older woman. Obviously, Colleen's not necessarily a lesbian, but now JoJo has came out as a lesbian. Like, I just feel like the whole thing is just, there's so many little like holes to where it's like, well, that's interesting, you know, not to say obviously Colleen definitely didn't make, you know, JoJo a lesbian or anything like that. But again, if it was the other way around, right, it would just be something that we would all assume, but we're not assuming that now or thinking anything of that now because they're both on two different sexual aspects, or I should say sexual preferences. So it's just, I don't know how she can't see it, but I also do know how she can't see it. But I find it to be very interesting how She literally didn't say anything about JoJo in that video. She was like, Nia, 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 Nia. And here goes JoJo saying, like, you know, she was just so devastated that I'm like, girl, it sounded like you was an add-on. I'm so sorry. It sounded like you was a nice little add-on, a nice little, you know, post-it sticky note, you know, like, oh, we forgot that one, go ahead and write that down. You know, when you're like looking at a contract, you're like, oh, I need to add that, and you just put the post-it note, you put your note, you know, it's just like you were like a little add-on. And again, not to say that that's a bad thing, but I think JoJo just had a different storyline at that time, as well as not necessarily being as big as she is now.
Became somebody that I was
because like
wow,
what's Nia doing now? I don't know nothing about
worker.
Nia.
She's a
I don't know
genius.
who that is.
She's a very strong YouTuber, and I idolized that, you know? And so throughout our friendship, we've probably filmed 100 videos together.
And that's another thing. She even admits to saying that she was idolized. Which also makes it very much another situation where even Adam said that. Right? And Adam felt like he was friends. Like they were just really, really good friends, you know? Like the whole thing is just sketchy.
She's cool.
It's just
She's
so interesting
cool, guys.
hearing the difference between her talking about being a fan of Colleen and that developing into a friendship, and then her being a fan of Tana, and then time needing to pass before the two of them could be friends. Like, it's just, I just cannot. Like, Colleen and JoJo are 16 years apart, and Tana and JoJo are only 5 years apart, yet Tana is saying that she really needed JoJo to be an adult before they could even remotely be, like, you know, talking about stuff and have stuff in common and be friends. But this whole episode with JoJo just turned into a whole mess, I'll say that. But that's what happened when JoJo went on the canceled podcast and the drama that unfolded once it was posted. Let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.
Man, let's go ahead and hop to the next video now. The way I'm just like, ugh. What is going on in these little YouTube streets, child? Oh, I did not mean to do that. I did not mean to do that.
Her accountable. And now she's come out.
Pause.
Trisha Paytas has been very vocal in the Colleen Ballinger
What
situation, calling her out for her wrongdoings and holding her accountable. And now she's come out to give even more insight as to what Colleen was saying to her behind the scenes as everything was going down, and why she feels Colleen is manipulating Jojo Siwa. Recently, Jojo Siwa had come out to defend Colleen Ballinger on the Howie Mandel podcast, saying that they've been friends since she was 12, and she really looks up to Colleen. She thinks she's a cool person, and felt like the internet was running with lies about her and capitalizing on her cancellation. Trisha had previously responded to Jojo's comments, feeling like this hasn't been a cancellation, but people holding her accountable for her actions, and wanted to give some more insight in her latest podcast episode as to what Colleen said to her and why she felt like she herself had been manipulated by Colleen, and now she's manipulating JoJo. She talks about how when she confronted Colleen about what was coming out about her and the talks of Colleen possibly having sent photos of Trisha around to young fans, making fun of her, Colleen completely tried to change the story.
I was so nice about it when I first heard the stuff about the pictures being sent to Johnny and, you know, allegedly to Adam. I brought it up to her, and she's like, oh my gosh, what? No, they were like your fans. Like, they were sending me pictures. And I was like, guys, and sometimes I would do like one word response, like, okay. Like, such crazy lies when she knew that this was like out there. And then later confirming it to me, so it's no longer a lie. Like, she confirmed this happened. So, but I was also manipulated. I was thinking like, okay.
Trisha also talked about how even though Colleen was choosing not to post on her own YouTube channel while everything was happening, she kept telling Trisha that she wanted to still do their podcast, and she at first even wanted to address some things on there, but then thought about it and wanted to just come back in an episode.
You know, I want to see these videos. You know, these pictures, how they pop up. I haven't seen any of these videos. Are they all gone? I know some of them have to be gone, right? But I really want to see like the dynamic of it all.
Acting nonchalant, like nothing was going on. And if they had actually done this, Trisha would have certainly been in
happy.
some major hot water and probably would have gotten canceled for standing by Colleen. People were already upset at Trisha for not speaking out about what was going on with Colleen. So for her to sit down and do a whole podcast episode with her, that would have been insane. And Trisha wonders if it was Colleen's plan to have Trisha be the one to test the waters for her of whether or not, you know, she was going to get a good reaction if she came back or not, which is crazy that she would to test the waters for her of whether or not, you know, she was going to get a good reaction if she came back or not, which is crazy that she would like literally throw Trisha under the bus like that.
She kept pushing to come back with the podcast. And when I started like really like listening to this stuff, I was kind of like, I don't know. And like, yes, being a skeptic, being her friend, being an influencer, yes, lies are told about you. So you're just like, okay, let me like hear more. But she was constantly pushing to like do the show. We're going to come back and show them. Like, we don't, and then she was like, yeah, we'll talk about it on the show. Was the first thing she said. Then she came back a couple weeks later, like, let's not even talk about it. We'll just come back so we can show them, like, look, we're friends, like this kind of stuff. And I was like, that's when it started feeling icky to me, because I'm like, why is she pushing coming back so much when she herself hasn't said anything? Wanting me to be the first to put out there to test the waters to see how it goes. Mm-hmm. It was so manipulative, and I would just like really hate her so much for it.
Trisha says that when they first started their podcast, she really just thought Colleen was so wholesome and never understood when Colleen would say that Reddit didn't like her and all of that. And she would joke with Trisha that they were going to get canceled for doing their podcast, and kind of made Trisha feel like she was the problematic one, though, when they tried to pitch themselves to the podcast network that Colleen was working with. And Colleen had told Trisha that they didn't want to work with them because they didn't want to lose advertisers with Trisha's past. But obviously, we know now that Colleen was the one that really got their podcast canceled. But Trisha and Moses talked about it in the episode, how maybe Colleen always knew in the back of her mind that her past was going to haunt her, and that's why she always joked about them getting canceled, because she felt like things were going to happen and things were going to come out about her, and that's why she was always making those jokes.
She always said, like, we're gonna get canceled, I'm gonna get canceled, like, it's gonna, right? Like, I mean, it always was very much that, and I was, like, so confused. Like, from even the first episode, are we canceled? Are we canceled?
Right.
Like,
we
I was
canceled
like,
yet or something?
And I was like, girl, what did you do in your past that you're so, because I'm a pretty cancelable person, and I was just like,
what did you do in your past? I'm screaming. Well, now you know.
We're fine. We're not doing anything wrong. Meanwhile, all this, I was like, what? Still to this day.
Also, she knew, I mean, somewhere in the back of her head, she knew that those photos exist, those text messages about you. So I think it just like, I don't know, I still don't understand how.
I want a full-on reaction of Ethan and Hila watching their podcast. This episode, the episode of them together. I fully, if I could be a fly on that wall, I would just, oh my Lord, oh my Lord, oh my Lord, oh my Lord. Because really, look how far we've come, you guys. Wow. Like, remember how many of us were like, Trisha and Moses, what? This is not going to work out. This is not going to happen. This is never going to be. Look at this. You know, you just really never know who you're going to meet and who's going to end up staying. You just really never know.
You go and work with somebody
just
wow is there.
Because the mukbang in December 2020, she was very much like, oh my God, I feel like you're going to cancel me. Like, oh my God, if it ends bad, it's going to end so bad. And like all stuff like that. And I remember saying in the mukbang, like, girl, like I'm not in that era of my life. Like, I'm not trying to like ruin you or cancel you. And it's like weird. I was like, oh wait, she's like weirdly manifested it, but it's not manifesting.
Right.
She like, knew all this.
That's what I'm saying.
Which I remember in one of their podcast episodes, Colleen was scared that a frenemies style situation would happen and, you know, end the podcast with Trisha, ruin their friendship. And it's just crazy to know that she was sitting next to someone that she had talked badly about. Like, yeah, a falling out is bound to happen when you've got these crazy skeletons in your closet. Anyone could leak at any time. And I feel like when
Trisha doesn't do mukbangs anymore, does she? Or am I just missing that content? Does she do mukbangs? Or she doesn't anymore. I don't know.
She was joking about it on the podcast. She was kind of making it seem like this frenemy style falling out would be at Trisha's hands. Like, it would be Trisha's fault that they would fall out in some way. But it was really Colleen. And still, like, the fact that she even wanted to do the podcast with Trisha, that whole thing is strange to me. Like, why she would even want to work with someone that she doesn't like or seem to like. But there's just so many things that have been strange about like Colleen. What? And Trisha went on to talk about Jojo and Colleen's strange friendship, expressing expressing that she feels as though Jojo has been manipulated by Colleen, and she feels like she can say that because she felt like Colleen was doing that to her.
But the manipulation I felt by her, and I truly do, and I don't use that term loosely at all. Like I really don't use manipulation like loosely, but I feel like I know I was manipulated, and like I think that's why I have so much anger still, and I feel like I
think
see
you were
this
gaslit
almost with
too.
Jojo, like it's manipulation. She's saying, oh, these are all lies. Well, she wasn't there in the situation. She's not involved, unless she was in these group chats or whatever like that, which she didn't say anything to. But the only person who could be telling you that these are lies are someone that's involved.
Trisha just feels like this is why this needs to be talked about, to emphasize the fact that this is not normal and people should not be friends with young fans or fans in general. The power imbalance is manipulation and it's not okay. And that's why she was so upset seeing Jojo say that people are just talking about Colleen to capitalize on the situation, because Trisha feels like it's accountability, not people trying to cancel her.
Jojo made me just so upset. And when they say stuff like this, she's not the first influencer to say it, where it's like, oh, people are capitalizing off it. It's like, no, people are talking about it. People who have a platform who's like, this so happens to be their job, are talking about it because it's like something that's so real and needs to be talked about. Like, I could talk about anything and make money, you know what I mean? But it's like, you can't just write off as like, oh, people are capitalizing off. It's like, no, people are like raising awareness about it and keep talking about it because people think it's completely normal, apparently. And like I said, she's not the first influencer to say this, to be like, oh, I think it's gross, so she made some mistakes, so it's like this. It's like that's so what is wrong with, that's what's wrong with the world.
Trisha goes on to even talk about the way that Colleen tried to approach the situation at first to her, because her and Oscar were talking about what Colleen might be saying to Jojo behind the scenes to get Jojo to the point of wanting to defend her so publicly. And Trisha explained how in the beginning of all this, when Colleen was trying to talk to her about what was going on, she was almost like guilt tripping her in a way, coming off as really scared to lose her as a friend. So she does see how Jojo would be swayed by Colleen's words.
And she kept sending voice memos like, oh my gosh, did I lose you? Like, are you there? And it just like took a full day for me to like, and again, I'm just like someone who's like, I didn't want her to like do anything bad to herself, right? She's like, you know, I don't have anyone and everyone probably hates me. All my friends probably hate me. They believe this stuff, you know. So she's like, everyone, you know, is like not talking to me, whatever. So I just thought, so she's like telling me it's not true. She's telling me all this stuff. And then on top of that, saying that stuff. And I remember that specific one where it was like, oh no, did I lose you? And I was just like, yeah. So it's like, I know this situation and I wanted to like cut ties. And it was so hard. And we always knew the podcast wasn't coming back. Like it always was that, but she wanted it to come back so bad and wanted all this stuff to happen and just, you know, blow over. And I just, so I know that situation and I know it's like really tough.
I kind of feel like it's a blessing in disguise for Trisha though, because I think Trisha underestimates that she doesn't really need like a co-host and like people there. Like, yes, obviously most people do that anyway with podcasts, but I don't think she actually needs it, to be honest. I think she could literally talk by herself and I think the video will still do well. I mean, I don't know what to call these people anymore. Uncancelable? I don't know. I mean, we even still have Shane Dawson over here still creating content till this day.
Especially when you're so young and you're connected to the whole family. She's connected to the whole family. And it was constant. It was all throughout the day, every day, you know, just getting voice memos, like so many throughout the night. And like, and in one way you do feel for her, right? Like I'm saying in like Jojo's situation, right? You're like hearing this anxiety. I could hear it. Voice memos all hours of the night saying, you know, she can't eat, doesn't see her kids. And like, and probably a lot of that is true. I'm not saying that's a manipulation tactic, but you're just like, well, I don't want this person to like hurt themselves, you know what I mean? Or, you know, with the kids and all this stuff like that. So as someone as an insider, that's what I'm saying, as someone isn't like someone who's like close to you, like Jojo or any of her family, like be there for that person, but you can't make excuses.
Trisha does say that she can't entirely blame Jojo for what she's said because of the fact that Colleen is in her ear, but that this whole thing of seeing Jojo come out and defend Colleen is the perfect example as to why the two of them should not be friends and why an adult should not be allowed to befriend kids, because they are easily swayed. And yes, Jojo is an adult right now, but not at the time that they formed this friendship.
I don't know 100% if I blame Jojo, because she's obviously hearing it from someone and it's obviously a manipulation. And you are friends with someone since you're a child. She kept reiterating, since I was 12, since this, we became friends. Yeah. It's like, that's the problem. That's the problem. You're the only one sticking up for this because you met.
I would love for Trisha to bring Trevor on and do a public apology and talk about how it affected him from that age to teen to an adult. just to see, you know, like a timeline of what that impact has done. Because I think it would help her argument, you know? Because at the end of the day, Trisha she's no saint.
When you're a child and you're believing all this stuff, it's manipulation. She's hearing it from somebody saying that these are lies, because there's no way, I don't believe JoJo is so egotistical to think that she knows what lies are when she wasn't in that situation, you know? So to be like, oh, all these lies and stuff like that, just crediting actual facts that are out there that have presented themselves, is insane to me. It's crazy, and it just screams manipulation, and it's the number one reason I feel like everyone saw it is like, this is why you shouldn't be friends with a minor.
It's just so crazy to hear what Colleen was saying to Trisha behind the scenes, the whole guilt tripping, did I lose you? I can't imagine what she's been saying to JoJo then. And clearly JoJo is buying into it. It's just sad, all of it. And maybe JoJo will realize what's happening one of these days, but until then, it seems like Trisha will be trying her best to explain to her the things that are wrong about the situation through her videos. But that is what she had to say as of right now. Let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments. I love you guys so much.
Thanks, girl. Bye. I don't think that will ever be anything to JoJo until she's maybe 10 years older or has children. Other than that, I don't think it's ever going to be like something that impacts her or makes her feel like, oh, I made a mistake. And I probably should have, you know, not discredited all of the information and everybody's experience with Colleen. I personally don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't know what else to say, you guys. I really don't think so. Yikes. Other than that, how do y'all feel about Trisha interviewing Trevor? I want Trisha to like interview like everybody that she has like issues with or some sort of like controversial past with. I feel like that would be really enlightening to her motherhood and her spiritual growth that she's been going through as she's revamping her image and whatnot. As well as some like OnlyFans models. I would actually be kind of interested to see her interview some OnlyFans models, just because, you know, it's just like a category that I don't know much about. I really don't know too much details about. I kind of try to stay away from there, because right when that's like hit 2020, like everybody and their mom would ask me at least once a week, like, do you have OnlyFans? Are you going to create OnlyFans? Are you thinking about doing OnlyFans? Would you ever have an OnlyFans account? And I'm just like, you guys are killing me with that. Like, no, that's just not my energy. And I don't know how else to say that. You know, sometimes I wish I was a little bit more promiscuous on that side. You know, I'll be sitting with some money, I'm sure, you know, sitting on a little pretty bag, but I just can't, and I won't. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this video. Glad I got my makeup done. I'm gonna go get me some freaking brunch. Shout out to the UK government for freaking approving my application, because your girl is officially a British citizen. Okay, well, I was already a British citizen, but I had to renew my passport, and it took a long time to like do all these like documents and letters and stuff like that. So either way, I'm grateful for that. Definitely a blessed one to be dual citizen. But yeah, other than that, you guys, I'll see you on the next one. And yeah, I'm gonna go get my nails done too, because they look like crap, or at least I need to get them done this week, because it's looking very like animalistic. It's looking animalistic. It's disgusting. Anyways, if you made it all the way to the end, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see y'all all in the next video. Bye.
Is there more?
Maybe I'm cynical. Maybe you feel it.